Hey guys, today's lesson is going to follow up on our integers. We're going to talk about multiplying and dividing integers. And multiplying and dividing integers is pretty straightforward as long as you keep track of what it is that you need to do with the rules. So let's go ahead and share screen here so we kind of know what we're looking at. So if we start talking about multiplying and dividing integers, the first thing you need to realize is that you're simply going to multiply or divide normal. There's no changing to the multiplication and division. So if 5 times 5 is 25, if I start working with integer rules, I'm still going to have 25 as part of that answer. Now I need to decide if it's going to be positive or negative. So we start looking at multiplying and dividing with integers. We break it down into basically two kinds of rules. We call it odd and even. So I'm going to highlight that portion of the rule, odd and even. The most common that you're going to see for odd is a problem that has one negative. And the most common you're going to see for an even is a problem that has two negatives. Now, odd could still be a problem that has 3 negatives or 5 negatives, but the most common is going to be 1. So the rule is this: if there are an odd number of negatives, then the answer is negative. So an example of that would be negative 3 times 5. And notice I use the dot to show multiplication. Well, this multiplication problem has 1 negative. Because it has 1 negative, I know the answer is going to be negative. And then I simply multiply 3 times 5 to get negative 15. The trickiest part is going to be keeping track of the rules for adding and subtracting integers along with multiplying and dividing. Well, let's take another example. 4 times negative 2. This time I did multiplication with parentheses. Again, there's 1 negative in the problem, so it's going to be negative, and then 4 times 2 is 8. Well, what happens if I have negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2? Well, here's an example of the odd that wasn't just 1 negative. This problem has 1, 2, 3 negatives. Well, 3 negatives means the answer is going to have to be negative. And then I multiply 2 times 2, which is 4, times 2, which is 8. Be very careful. Keep track of the negative signs, and then just multiply. And our other rule is then what happens if it's even or there's 2 negatives. Well, your most common example of that with 2 negatives would be in parentheses. And usually if both numbers have negatives, you're going to see it in parentheses. Well, this is 2 negatives in a problem, so I know that the answer has to be positive. And then I'm going to multiply 2 times 4, which is 8. Now, what about division? Division is going to follow the exact same rules. The only difference is how it looks. So let's come back up here to 1 negative. 25 divided by negative 5. There is 1 negative in that problem, so the answer is negative. And then I simply divide 25 divided by 5, which gives me an answer of negative 5. If I do it with 2 negatives, and let's go ahead and show division with a fraction bar, negative 36 divided by negative 9. A fraction bar is the same for division. Well, this is division with 2 negatives, so it's going to be a positive. And 36 divided by 9 is going to give me 4. And I can extend the even to something that's beyond just 2. So let's take this example from the top with odds. And let's go negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 negatives. So the answer has to be positive. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. So our two rules are odd and even for multiplication. I'm going to give you 3 example problems, and then I will want you to pause the video and do them, and then resume the video so that you can see. So example number 1, -3 times -4. Example number 2, -5 times 7. Example number 3, -24 divided by 3. So take a moment and pause the video, solve all 3, and then resume the video to get the answer. Now that you've finished all 3 of these problems, let's look at the answers. This one had 2 negatives, so it has to be positive. 3 times 4 is 12. This problem had 1 negative, so the answer is negative, and 5 times 7 is 35. The last example has 1 negative and it's division, so there's going to be a negative answer. 24 divided by 3 is 8. Okay. That's your lesson on multiplying and dividing with integer rules. Your homework, which is on your Teams page, make sure to find your multiplying and dividing integers worksheet and finish that and get it turned in. All right, guys. Good luck. If you've got any questions, feel free to let me know.